All right, thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the first session. So we're going to now have all of our panelists here. So give everybody a chance to reintroduce themselves to the whole group. My name is Kamel Hodges. I'm the Inclusion and Diversity Leader for Corteva Agriscience, which is a division of Dow DuPont.
Good afternoon. My name is Alvin Peer. I'm from the United States Department of Agriculture and Natural Resource Conservation Service. 98 graduate.
Lafayette Woods Jr., 2004 graduate from Houston University. The Sheriff of Jefferson County.
Andreas Bloomfield, 2007 graduate, Amazon.com.
Marquise Gardner, 2007 graduate, Regulatory Science, Murphy Oil, USA.
Dorothy Rhodes, civil engineering graduate, 1992, University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, the second African American female to graduate from the university with a degree in civil engineering.
Dr. Ruth Jones, branch chief with NASA Marshall Space Flight Center, 1994 graduate of UAPB, the first female to get a BS in physics.
Maria Smedley. I'm an attorney and vice president of Human Resources and Strategy at Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation in Little Rock, and I'm the first African American female officer of the corporation.
Veronica Savachet. I'm a graduate from Xavier University of Louisiana. I work at NASA Johnson Space Center for a contractor for KBR Wiley, and I'm a crew health integration specialist.
And my name is Kevin Blakely. I'm a 1996 graduate of the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville in electrical engineering, and I'm the 2019 referee between this table and this one. This is gonna be kind of rough today. I got a job ahead of me.
Who run the world?
We have a lot of trailblazers in the room, so I hope you pay attention and be ready to ask your questions, because there's a lot of knowledge up here, and they're ready to share it.
And no do-overs, brothers. I'm sorry. We got to step your game up. I'm unbiased today. I can't side with you. All right, we're going to ask a few questions. We're also going to field questions from the students. Fielding questions from the students. I'm going to say again, the students, because this is what this is about, okay? So we want to make sure you guys get a chance to get engaged and get involved, and we address the things that are interesting you at this point. So to start off, I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to direct it to one side or the other, and we'll see how we can keep this thing going smooth, all right? Here we go. First question. Let's see if I can get this in. I'm sorry. What would you say are the key behaviors, traits, and or competencies a young professional should consistently exhibit in the workplace to earn a seat at the table? To one of the ladies to my left, please. I'll repeat the question just to make sure we heard it. What would you say are the key behaviors, traits, and or competencies a young professional should consistently exhibit in the workplace to earn a seat at the table?
I would say confidence, but you have to be able to back up that confidence with qualifications. I would also say that you should do your job really, really well. A lot of times we're looking to the next job before we've mastered our current job. So if you can do your current job really, really well, that's the way to impress the higher ups. And if you marry that with confidence and qualifications, you're on your way to a seat at the table.
And then in addition to that, you need to know how to communicate effectively. It's all about communication, not just verbally. Sometimes your body language says a lot. So you have to know how to communicate both effectively.
Do one of the gentlemen want to comment?
So I wrote mine down. So time management is definitely one. Consistency, a strong work ethic, strong spiritual values, and most of all, integrity.
Okay, let me ask another question. I will start with the gentleman, please. What are some indicators to look out for when you want to know how you're perceived or when you need to change something at work?
One of the first things you want to look at is buy-in, because you can notice from the people that you're working with on that team if you've given them the directives clearly, concisely, of what you want them to do and how you're going to go about doing whatever that task is. Eye contact. If they're not looking at you attentively, they don't have it.
I would say self-measurement, just based on feedback from other employees or colleagues. If you're not being given opportunities, people are not calling on you, you may not be that person they're looking for a reason. Self-evaluation, evaluating yourself. You know who you are. If you have any, decision, you want to question that, you can talk to colleagues and see how they view you. They'll be honest with you.
One of the ladies would like to make a comment.
I guess I would just like to piggyback off what he said. If you're not being given additional work to do or being chosen or selected to do certain things, you need to check yourself. And you also need to go talk to your supervisor, your team lead, and ask them, okay, what am I doing wrong that I'm not being selected on these certain jobs or certain projects? And I know a lot of people like, I'm getting paid anyway, so why should I work? I can just sit here on Facebook and on Twitter and still get paid the same thing as someone else who's out there doing the actual work. But you want to make sure that you're out and about and doing work that's really valuable to the company, because you want to be valuable, because you don't want to be labeled as that lazy person or someone who's not doing their job. Because I have an employee right now, every time I ask them to do something, they have to give me a 30-minute dissertation on why they shouldn't do the job instead of just doing the job. And that's exhausting. So take on challenges and just do your job and do it well, because you're not only, just identifying yourself, or you're not representing yourself, you're representing this university. And when companies get students from UAPB, if they're not doing a great job, guess what? They're not going to come back to UAPB and recruit, unless it's some of us consultants who are going to give you another chance. But we only going to have so many opportunities to give you guys a chance. So you get that one shot, give it your best.
I'd like to add to that. In my workplace, it seems like the moment of truth equates to the performance evaluation. And so what my supervisor writes on the paper is contingent upon my getting a salary increase. So there again, as we talked about the past few days, I have to eliminate the excuses, and I have to have the aptitude and the attitude to be able to get to the altitude of career advancement in my workplace.
Thank you for that. I believe we have something from the audience.
How y'all doing? My name is Jalissa Brown. I am a graduating senior, May 11th, 3 o'clock at the convention center. My question is for both y'all, but the first part is for the guys, and then the second part is for me. Okay, so as fellas in workplaces, how do you make sure that Black women are comfortable in spaces where women aren't really accepted? And as, just Black people together, how do y'all work together to make sure that there's a comfortable work environment for Black people?
The simple answer to it for me is, in the profession I'm in is male dominated. Simply put, treat them as equal. Just treat them as equal. I don't treat them no different. Female employees, we give them the same opportunity we give male employees. To give you a specific example, most SWAT teams or special response teams are special skills that go beyond your normal range in law enforcement. So those are people who have been picked out. They have special skills in weapons, tactical, things like that. We give females the same opportunity, same criteria. We don't change that criteria, same opportunity. So I said, just keep it equal, make them equal.
For me, in my role, I give them feedback, and I don't let them fall to the wayside, right? So in my role currently, I'm the only African American in the role out of 62 managers in the position. And so I'm like a black pepper and salt, grit, you know? And so, but that doesn't intimidate me, right? And so whenever I'm speaking and we're in meetings, I make sure that I'm very strategic on what I'm about to say, and I think about what I'm going to say, and I make sure that I have all my data. So just in case somebody wants to check, verify what I'm saying, that is correct. And so what I do is I try to mentor other African Americans, not just the females, but also the males that are in positions below me, my ranking, and give them feedback on, here are some things that I did to prepare for the next role. Here are some things that I'm working on, and I share that information with them and say, here are some things that I'm working on. Would you like to work on this project? And so I get them involved, and so when they're interviewing, they can say, hey, I worked on a project with Andreas. There's something that they can speak to, right? And so I just try to create opportunities for them, and whenever I see that they're not doing the right thing, I give them feedback and not be afraid to say, hey, you need to be doing this instead of doing that, because if this is where you want to go, here's the path.
I think in the workplace we have this unspoken brother code, sister code. So when you come into the workforce, there's probably going to be someone that looks like you that will try to share information with you to make sure that you have a smooth transition into the workforce and that you avoid some of the landmines or challenges that they had when they first came in. And you should be open and receptive to that. Sometimes new hires aren't, and that's to your detriment because they've already been through it, so they're really trying to assist new hires with their transition. What I do personally is I check in with our African American and female employees. I make sure they're represented on high-profile projects. I do compensation assessments to make sure nobody's getting screwed over from a compensation standpoint. I make sure that if this white male employee receives recognition or a bonus for a particular project and a female employee did a similarly situated project but no recognition was provided, I make sure that we have that recognition for that employee. But again, I can do that because I work in human resources and I'm sort of responsible for making sure that everyone is treated fairly within the workplace.
Okay. Can I get her real quick? Okay.
Hello, my name is Shay Seals, also known as Shay. I'm a political science major here at the university, and I'm a senior and I graduated in December. My question is for you ladies. With that question, or with that topic of equal work for equal pay, have you seen it in your fields where you literally having to work almost double to get the same recognition that a white male counterpart would get? Is that really true?
Yes.
Once again, Prentice Royston Jr., graduating senior here. My question is, I know with the position that everybody is in, I feel like there has been opportunities to be a mentor within your space of either your job or outside. So being a mentor, what have you learned something about yourself by teaching somebody else from your position?
And being a mentor from my position, I am also the civil rights chair of my organization. So between that position and being the vice president of our black organization, I'm always looking at the employees that we bring in under me. We're always looking at who and where we're positioning our people. We're also looking at who is the closest to get to them when something's going on, what the background is, and making sure of what that possibility was.
if you all don't mind, I'd like to revisit the compensation question. So after you all graduate, you all will receive job offers, and it'll probably be more money than you've ever made in your life, and you'll be really excited. Like for me, and when I graduated in '94, I went to work for Duracell batteries, and just to give you some perspective, in 1994, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour, which was about what I was making on my little job I had in college. So Duracell offered me $36,000 a year. I thought I was rich. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Life is good. And the mistake that I made is that I didn't negotiate at that point. So what happens is the compensation divide happens when you guys get your first job and you fail to negotiate compensation. So I was like, $335, $36,000. I'm good, this is great. But someone else came in and said, well, I had all these internships, I graduated, had top 10% of my class, I was valedictorian, blah, blah, blah. So I want to counter that with $40,000. And they say, well, you might not, we can't do $40,000, but how about $38,000? So we're coming in at the same time. I came in at 36, someone else came in at 38. The divide happens there. And then even if we received 5% increases each year after that, the divide gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that's kind of how it happens. So I wrote an article about negotiating compensation. It's a 2-page article. I want all of y'all to read that before you start accepting offer letters, and I'll make sure that I share that with the appropriate people running the program.
In answering the mentor question, I have a 2-part answer. So for me, my mentor happens to be number 3 in the company. He is a brother. He is an Alpha Phi Alpha. And so we check one another on a regular basis as to our performance at work. What I find as a mentee in the workplace, there are 4,000 employees at my company. There are 4 African American females and about 5 African males. The females expect for me to readily open doors of advancement for them. So that's always a tough situation, because as we've learned in these past couple of days, success is on who? Me. There you go. So, and once I explain that to them and we're on the same level, I always want them to know that I'm going to be looking out for you as a career engineer with the company, but I can't always get you advanced and have opportunities waiting for you.
Hello, my name is Bradford House, computer science junior. Also have to go to break. Around 70% of African Americans are born out of wedlock. What relationship advice could you give us as young men and women that could help us maintain a healthy relationship?
I'm gonna ask the brothers to start on that one.
All right. Wait a minute, let me just pray. All right, so that is a great question, right? So maintaining a healthy relationship, and you want to know about this wedlock, right? So let me start off by saying, have a plan. Having a plan. Make sure that your plan is flexible, right? Because stuff happens. If your plan is not flexible, it's not a good plan, because things change and you've got to be able to make adjustment to your plan, right? Now, I mess up Sunday dinner, but I want to use my mother-in-law as an example. She had 5 children, right? All out of wedlock. Jesus, I mess up Sunday dinner. But she went back to school and finished her bachelor's. She went back and got a master's, and she's held several VP positions in Memphis. vice president of development for even Sachs Museum, right? And so one of the things that I asked her, I was like, what drove you to go back and finish school? And she said, Andreas, I had a plan. You know, and then I had these babies, they were not part of my plan, but I had to be flexible, right? And so I had to go back to the drawing board, and I had to say, you know what? Okay, I have the babies, and they're here now, and we can't cry over spilled milk, so I have to make adjustment to my plan because I still need to meet my end goal. And so I'm not sending you out there to go have no babies. But what I'm telling you is that if it does happen, right, you have to have a plan, right? And if you don't have a plan and it happens, you got 9 months to prepare. Get to writing.
Just to add to that, I'm 38, don't have any biological kids. One thing I can say that my household looked a little bit different from everybody else's. So I had my mother and father throughout my entire life, and I still have them. They remain together and are still together today. That's not ideal for a lot of people, but I wanted to be a part of my environment. My father had kids when he was ready to have them. My advice is have kids when you're ready to have them. Responsibility is a big thing. And once conception happens and you go through the act of having it, like you said, 9 months later, you know, your plan may not be your plan because that may be altered. I was driven on career. I said I wanted to be the sheriff. I'm now the sheriff. I can't say if I'd have had kids, my life would have been where it is right now. My career would have been where it is right now. It's a sacrifice. And having a child is a big responsibility, a huge responsibility.
Mine is very short. So you need to be wise in picking your relationships. You need to pick smart relationships. For fellas, for men and women, you shouldn't feel any pressure about graduating not having somebody. So that's one thing I've seen a lot of people do. Focus on loving yourself, and then when you get ready to find somebody who's equally yoked with you. All right.
Hear from the ladies, please.
So the first thing that I would say is don't settle. Don't settle. Be true to yourself. When you're with someone, ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm with this person? Listen to your inner spirit. It'll guide you. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. Maya Angelou, okay? There's a book that was very helpful for me. It's called Single, Married, Separated, and Divorced. It was written by Tony Evans, I believe. It is an excellent book to kind of help you from a spiritual, religious perspective to navigate that process. And then ladies, there's this marriage fever that might hit you around graduation. And then it comes again around 27, 28, because you would have been a bridesmaid in 5, 6, 10 weddings, and you're like, when is it gonna be me? And then someone that's not necessarily meant for you comes and puts a ring on it, and you end up, you know, getting married and it not working out. So I'll go back to what I said the first time. Don't settle.
Was the question, I think, how to maintain a healthy relationship, so the maintenance there. So I would say that you, first of all, you need to have honesty with transparency. And able to maintain a relationship, you have to be who you are, and that other person has to feel free to be who they are. And in the process, it's unhealthy to keep and hide things and to have secrets and to not be honest and to tell lies, because that chips away, and you can't maintain anything healthily if you're not going to be an honest person. The next thing you want to do is you want to always put in the work. A lot of times in relationships, it's one-sided, and only one person is pulling the other person and keeping things, you know, fresh and new. Try to hook yourself up with somebody that it wants to continuously grow. Because if they don't want to always learn to do better and they're okay with being where they are, that can present a problem in a relationship, because a relationship and everybody evolves, things evolve. And so you need someone that can, as you evolve, that can make the adjustment. And as they evolve, that you can make the adjustment. And if possible, try to make that somewhere where you can evolve and grow together. Because a lot of times in relationships, people grow apart and they're not on the same page all the time. And you won't be on the same page all of the time. But when you find yourself on different pages, that's when that transparency, that communication, and all of that, and having a true friendship, that's when that comes into play, and you can go through that phase of life, because that season will come. And you can go through that phase of life and then look back and say, hey, we have accomplished something. We had a rough patch, because that's part of life. That's going to happen. And, you know, in the process, just make sure you are honest. And it's okay. Sometimes even in a marriage, you may have to take a break. But you never take that break too long. Because anything that you do too long, it gets comfortable. It gets comfortable. So if you don't have date night for a year, you get comfortable not ever having date night. If you don't spend time together, you get comfortable not spending time together. Then when that person comes into your space, they get on your nerves because you haven't been around them. So be intentional about the thing to maintain that healthy relationship, and put in the work. And when that other person isn't putting in the work, confront them about that and demand that. And then if that doesn't work, then seek help. Don't be afraid to seek help, and to have you know, other healthy relationships that you can look up to and that they can hold you to accountable. So have accountability partners as well.
I guess too, in order to have a healthy relationship, you must love yourself first. If you don't love yourself, you can't seek love. Because then you're gonna think it's love, but it's really not love. So love yourself first. And then never ask for something and never want for something that you can't offer yourself. You know, we always saying we want this, but what are we offering? You know, so check yourself. So in order for you to have a good relationship, you gotta know what you're offering. And if they're not offering what you're offering or better, don't accept that. And like Miss Maria said, don't settle. You know, sometimes it's not meant for us to have, you know, husbands and kids. So just accept that. You know, be good with your own life. But if you love yourself, then God knows what's best for you.
We get one more amen. I'm going to pass a plate in a minute. I think we have another question from the... You can go ahead.
I just want to add to the conversation by saying, sisters, let's be real, because sometimes as sisters, we do a lot of nagging to our men and to our brothers. So, you know. So, we have to stop nagging our brothers, and we have to walk us alongside them. We can't change them.
Brothers, I'm old
Let them use you. Let them use you.
I'm old enough to know that's not the best move right now, man. This only lasts till 12:30, you know.
And as my father always taught me, he said, be able to take care of yourself. Get your degree. And so if your relationship or your marriage doesn't work out, you can take care of yourself.
Okay, we have another question from one of the students.
Hello, my name is Kennedy Marks. I am a junior mass communications major from Atlanta, Georgia. And I wanted to know if any of you all can speak on the detriment that is caused when people focus more on how to devalue others than the value that they possess, or like pure intentions, or how not having good intentions for others can ooze, like, you know, and affect their own destiny or success. Like, and how to deal with that when you're on the receiving end of that kind of ill treatment.
I think we started with the brothers last time. The young ladies want to respond to that first, please.
Well, I think that our lives are predestined and everything happens for a reason. So sometimes we think that people are taking things from us, but they're really not. It's just not our time. So sometimes we have to accept realization. And like I said earlier, you know, people can take promotions from you, take certain jobs from you, but what's in your head, nobody can take that from you. And sometimes we want a promotion, we want a big time job at this point in our lives, but God knows that we're not ready for it. So he's gonna hold us back, and we may get some, you know, criticisms, we may get some obstacles in our way, but if you got self-confidence, you just gotta be like Serena Williams. When you're down, they're gonna light that fire and you're gonna just blast off. So don't let them take anything from you, especially your self-confidence and your pride. If you got that and know who you are, no matter what they say, you just roll it off and just like, okay, and just push harder.
Working with people on my team, one thing that I've learned, and I've learned this in my spiritual life, love. When we speak with love, even when it comes to criticism, it can change a person's life for the better. So I'm no better than you or the people on my team. I'm not perfect. They aren't perfect. So I try not to criticize. I always ask them to do a self-assessment of their work as we do in our personal lives. And if there is some deficiencies that need to be improved on, I know how to talk to them in love, professionalism, and in the right manner.
And brothers, if you don't mind, I'm gonna say on myself on this one. Ask yourself, are they right? Take a second, clear off your mirror, look at yourself and ask yourself, are they right? If they are, do something about it. If they're not, brush it off. I think we have one more question from over here.
Hello, my name is Thomas Harris. I'm a freshman majoring in digital media studio. And my question is it better to be assertive and constantly presenting like your own ideas, or is it better to just go with the flow?
Thank you, sir. One of the gentlemen first, please.
There's a difference. You want to be assertive to a degree, but you don't want to be overly. You know, a lot of times bosses like to have that supervisor has that thought already, but it's just adding to it. Listening. You always want to listen to what's on the table first before you interject. That assertiveness will help you, but you have to be very careful with how far you go with it.
Young lady, you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to know anytime. My name is Lakia Dean. I'm a graduating senior, and my major is merchandise, textile, and design. And I just wanted to know, like, anytime that y'all were in school or in your career that you felt discouraged, where you just lost the passion for what you wanted to do, like, what did you do to help yourself or to encourage yourself to keep going?
Yeah, I could take that if you want me to. So, that is a great question, because it happens a lot of times. Then you know it. You know what I do? It happened to me the other day. I called Miss Cherry and told Miss Cherry, but I didn't call her with a problem. I said, Miss Cherry, this is what's going on. I might not come to YMTF, but this is my plan. I get in my prayer closet, right? I get in my prayer closet, I disconnect from social media, and I disconnect from all the external sources that can influence my decision and my thoughts. And I get in my prayer closet and I pray. This might not be the answer you're looking for, but I'm going to tell you what I do. I get in the prayer closet and I pray, and then I sit still long enough so I can hear from God, right? Sometimes I go in there, I don't even know what to pray, but I just sit there and just be in His presence. And I promise you, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Let him use you. Let him use you.
One of the ladies.
Let me too echo what the gentleman just said, because I believe that it's a divine appointment when it comes to our assignment. And so I believe that if you are faith connected, your assignment will come at the appointed time, and you will have the assurance, the divine assurance, that you can tackle whatever it is that come before you, even if it's an obstacle.
All right, I have one more question. I think this might be our last one. there were some comments made about mentors, and I really wanted to get this question out. How can young professionals find strong partners, mentors, coaches, or sponsors at work and ask for support, especially if there are not a lot of employees there who look like them? So we talked about having them, but we haven't talked about how to find them. So start with the ladies, please.
I would say in your workplace or even here at school, just look for strong professors, people that you can talk to, people who you can relate to. And sometimes they may not be your same color, may not be the same gender, which it doesn't matter. You're just trying to get to where they are. So just like at this YMTF, we have a lot of consultants here willing to be mentors. I have a lot of mentees out there. I see Yamna out there. I see Elizabeth. So these are people that I mentor all the way from Huntsville, Alabama. So you can go out and find these mentors, but you just got to be patient. Go up to them and ask, hey, are you willing to be my mentor? I really like what you're doing, or I'm interested in what you're doing. I want to follow the same path. And you'll be amazed at how many people will say, yes, I will be your mentor. But you got to take that first step and just ask. But have your A game on too, because if you're not committed, don't waste anyone's time.
My mentor is Caucasian, right? And I'm talking about he is sharp. He's a level above me, and he speaks 7 different languages, right? And he sits at the table. And so I asked him, I said, would you mind being my mentor? And he's like, sure. And so he's more than a mentor for me because he sits at the table. He advocates for me when I'm not there. Behind closed door, he's my advocate, right? And he'll tell me, give me feedback and say, Andreas, I need to work on this, or, check in with me on this. And so he advocates for me. And so for me, I don't discriminate on getting a mentor, on what race, religion, affiliation you have. It doesn't matter to me. If there's someone that I see that I need to learn something from because they have an attribute that I need to attain for myself to develop myself, then I'm going to be humble enough to ask. He can say yes or no, right? So never be afraid to ask. Don't let the color, the race, sexual preference, or anything that is going on with that person hinders you from asking for help. And we have to learn to work with people from different race, creed, and culture, because now inclusion and diversity going out in the corporate America is going to be very important to know how to work with people from all walks of life, right? And so my mentor is white, man, and I love him. He is off the chain.
All right, thank you. We want to put our hands together for the panel. We've reached our time. We really appreciate what all they've done. We want to give a special thank you to Ms. Camille Hodges, who really put this together, her and her committee. We want to acknowledge your committee, Camille. I'm not sure who all was on the committee, but you all did a wonderful job.